Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we will chant the first 10 verses of chapter 4, please.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshvakave Bravit Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshayo Viduhu Sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa sa evayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanah bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah kathametadvijaniyam pramadau proktavaniti. Shri Bhagavanuvacha bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava charjuna Tanyaham veda sarvani Natvam vetha parantapa Ajopi sannavyayatma Bhutanam ishvaropi san Prakritim swamadhisthaya Sambhavamyatma mayaya Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanirbhavati bharata Abhyutthanam Tadatmanam srijamyaham Paritranaya sadhunam Vinashaya cha dushkritam Dharma samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge Janma karma cha me divyam Evam yo veti tattvataha Tyaktva deham punarjanma Naiti mameti sojuna Vitaraga bhaya krodhaha Manmaya mamupashritaha Bahavo jnana tapasa Puta madbhava magataha.
The fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is entitled Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation, of action in wisdom. Now we have 42 verses in this chapter, and what you see on the screen here is a summary of the whole chapter. Now you will not find this in the original text because it is part of the research done by Swamiji, and it is easy, it makes it easy for any student to follow the thought in the chapter. Because otherwise, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find sometimes Krishna is talking, sometimes Arjuna is asking a question, and it is difficult to understand. that flow of thought. But with this breakup of topics, it becomes quite easy to follow. And as we have discussed earlier, every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita has a theme, a message. And this sort of study helps us to not only understand the message of the chapter, it also would enable us to put it into our own lives, to practice these principles. Because the whole idea is to get every one of us imbibe these great principles of life and living. While we find various subjects, various fields of knowledge available to us in the world, and there's no limit to gaining knowledge in the world, but with all the knowledge that we can gather in the world, we can only become intelligent people, smart people. And with all the intelligence and smartness that we can gather from the knowledge of the world, we can only give it back to the world, interact with the world. But the question must arise, what about the individual? What about you? What about me? What subject, what knowledge will enable us to be better humans to start with? It's not knowledge of medicine or engineering or business or anything in the world. It can't guarantee that you become a better human. You become a smarter human being, a more intelligent person. But there is no guarantee to be a better human unless you gain values, human values. And what is unique about the Bhagavad Gita is that it gives us these eternal principles, eternal truths, eternal values of life and living. And that is why the study of the Gita is of great importance for any generation, particularly the youth, because they have this great opportunity called life. We all have this great opportunity called life. But what are we doing with this opportunity? We could just be living maybe a good life. Like we said, you could successfully raise your standard of living with all the intelligence you have. You exchange it for wealth of the world. Even a profession. You know something, others don't. So you give your knowledge in exchange of wealth, and that is how you earn a living. So with all the intelligence, with all the knowledge that you have, you can at best have a better home, maybe a great home. You have better amenities, facilities. All that is available to you. But you could be still sitting in the midst of wealth and achievements and not know anything about the purpose of being a human. Why are we born humans? What is the purpose? What are we to achieve here? I know we have brought this up in almost every class, but it is important before we engage ourselves in the study. We all know that we are born into this world. And we are so busy as we live our life here, doing so many things. I'm sure if we were to ask each one sitting here, which I'm not going to do, you have a story to tell about your life, about the things you've done, about the things you've achieved. And some are still struggling to achieve it. But you are so preoccupied in life, doing whatever you think you should be doing. All that is very well. But when you are done, when you're finished with life, whenever that is, what do you take with you? What is it that stays with you? What's going to accompany you? Not your wealth, not your name, not your fame, not even your family members, the one who's closest to you, who's dearest to you. You will not leave that person for a second, whatever your relationships are. And you have been spending all your time and energy to take care of these relationships, to take care of these possessions, or whatever you're engaged in, from morning till night, from birth to death. You're doing so much. And yet, none of this will accompany you. So that basic question must arise in our minds. What is it that is permanent? What is it that we're supposed to understand? We're given this opportunity, life. Now, you can while away your time. You can complain about things. You can be proud of things. All that is fine as long as you live here. The moment you pass, none of this accompanies you. If there is something that stays with you, it is only this. Whatever your knowledge you gain of the truth. And what the Bhagavad Gita is giving us is the truth of life. What is that ultimate truth? What is it that you must know as a human? What is it that will stay with you? It is the knowledge of your true self. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita starts with the word dharma. In the first verse, first chapter, starts with dharma. And the last word in the last verse in the last chapter ends with mama. It's interesting to know, what does it mean? Dharma mama. The whole philosophy of the Gita is conveying dharma mama. So what does dharma mean? Dharma is that which makes a thing what it is, without which a thing is not what it is. I know you're looking stoically at me, you're all confused. It's actually very simple. It sounds complicated. Dharma is that which makes a thing what it is, without which a thing is not what it is. Example. What would you say is the dharma of sugar? What is the essential nature of sugar? Anyone? Sweetness. So you could say, sweetness makes sugar what it is. Without sweetness, sugar is not what it is. In other words, you can never have a sample of bitter sugar. Not possible. Why? That is not its dharma. Similarly, the dharma of fire is heat. Heat makes fire what it is. Without heat, fire is not what it is. You can never have a sample of cold fire. Why? That is not its dharma. In a similar sense, we must ask ourselves, what is it that makes me what I am, without which I am not what I am? I know you have an instant answer. Yeah, this is me. My picture. You see me? This height, this weight, male, female, young, old. This makes me what I am. This is just your physical body. What was your physical body 20 years ago? What is it now? What will it be 20 years hence? This is not you. I understand. Something within. What is within you? Your mind, your intellect, your manas, your buddhi, your feelings, your thoughts. That's what is within you. That's me. How do you say that? Your feelings, the feelings you have now, are not the feelings you had 10 years, 15 years ago, are not the feelings that you would perhaps have 10 years from now. The way you think today is not the way you thought earlier and is subject to change in the future. Therefore, if you analyze carefully all that you know of yourself today, whether it's your physical personality, your outer personality, or your inner personality, which is your mind and intellect, put together, every one of them is subject to change. Therefore, it cannot be your real dharma. And unless and until we launch on this program to find out who we really are, what is your essential dharma, you can be the most wealthy person in the world. You can be the most powerful person in the world. You can be the most successful person in the world, or the other way around. But you can never find peace, happiness, bliss. It's not possible. Because what you're seeking, that peace, that happiness, that bliss, that every one of us are helplessly seeking. Whoever you are, we don't want to know your background. What are you today? That's immaterial. But everyone is helplessly looking for this one thing called peace and happiness. And you will not stop. You will not rest until you find it. But what we are doing is we are looking for happiness in the world of things and beings, not realizing that the only place that you can find it is within yourself. Arthur Schopenhauer, the great German philosopher, he says, it is difficult to find happiness within yourself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. And all of us are looking for happiness anywhere else except within ourselves. So here is an opportunity where we will change the direction of our pursuit. All along we're looking for things in the world outside. But here is an opportunity for each one of us to take that time out and look within and find out what is the purpose of our lives. What is this dharma? What is my essential being? And how does one use this opportunity called life while we are functioning in the world, fulfilling our duties and obligations? While we're doing that, we need to find out who we essentially are. Because that knowledge, whatever effort you put in to get back to your real state, that will stay with you wherever you go. So with this, we look into the summary here. The first 10 verses deals with the subject, the self is eternal teacher. So the self is an English word. The Sanskrit word is Atman in you, or the self in you, or the God principle in you, is the real teacher. That gives the knowledge of the truth. So that is described in the first 10 verses. In the second topic, how does this self, this truth, this reality, now you can use whatever words you want. You're not comfortable with the word self. There is a truth. There is a reality which is unknown to us today. And the whole world gives that unknown truth, reality, a simple word, G-O-D, God. God is an answer for anything that you don't know, for anything beyond your comprehension. We give that word God. That's it. But whether you use the word God, self in you, Atman in you, simply the truth, the reality, these are all synonyms. There is something beyond what you know about yourself, about the world. That is the truth, that is the reality. So in this chapter, we're just using the word self to represent that unknown factor, which is the core of your personality, which is your real dharma. So he says, how does that real self in you relate to action, any type of action? That is explained in the following verses. The third topic, actions of enlightened, an enlightened person who has the knowledge of the true self. Actions of such a person is not binding, which is quite different from what happens to a person who is not enlightened. The more we act, the more bound we are. And the more you need to act, and this is never ending. But an enlightened person's actions are not binding. That is explained at 19 to 24. And then this famous portion of this chapter, the highlight of this chapter, are the 12 yajnas, translated as sacrifices, but it's just a nearest English word for yajna. Yajna goes far beyond that, and we'll be studying it, verses 25 to 30. And it follows with all yajnas. When you perform yajnas, for the time being, a perfect action. Let's assume there's such a thing as a perfect action, whatever that is. When you perform perfect actions, it will culminate in wisdom. You become wiser. 31 to 37, and Krishna's advice is to gain wisdom. So this is the flow of the chapter. We begin with the first verse, please.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha imam vivasvate yogam प्रोक्तवानहम व्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत् श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवानहमव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह Manurikshvakave bravit.
The blessed Lord said, I declared this imperishable yoga to Vivasvan. Vivasvan taught it to Manu. Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. So now when we say the blessed Lord said, who is conveying it is Krishna. Lord Krishna is just a personality. To Arjuna. Arjuna was the commander-in-chief of the Pandava forces. And the background is the battle on the battlefield. When they're about to begin the battle, Arjuna, a commander-in-chief, collapsed because he was overwhelmed with emotion. And he couldn't fight the battle. And that's when he, in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, is all about Arjuna bringing out his confusion, his agitations, his worries, his anxieties, all that he poured out. One chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, brings out all that happened to Arjuna before he collapsed. And then he continued in the first 10 verses of the second chapter. And finally, Arjuna surrendered completely to Krishna. He says, please help me. I don't know what to do. And after Arjuna completely surrendered, Krishna was listening to him all through this time. 1 chapter and 10 verses. He did not utter a single word. This is typical of a wise person. Listen carefully. The problem is we can't listen. I know you're all hearing me, unless you have a problem with hearing. But I don't know how many of you are listening. Listening is an art. It's a technique. It's something that we have to learn. Because when you listen, you receive knowledge fully. There are no interruptions. And then you give it time. Think about it. Think about what you have heard. Think about what was being presented to you without prejudice, neither for nor against. And come to your own conclusions. Yes, this makes sense. If you have any problem with the receipt of knowledge, ask questions. Find out. You don't have to reject it because it doesn't suit the way you think. You don't have to accept it because it agrees with the way you think. Neither will benefit you. Just because you agree doesn't mean you're right. Just because you disagree doesn't mean you know. But listening is receipt of knowledge without prejudice. Give it time. Think about what you heard on your own. Come to a conclusion. And if you have any difficulty in understanding, question, go back to it until you can make a conclusion. And if your conclusion is different from what is presented to you, you ought to find out which one is correct. What you just received or what you already know. That's why I did caution you, listening is an art. Hearing is easy. I'm not sure who it was. Was it Alvin Toffler who talks about the illiterate of the 21st century? He says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write. Because we all can read and write. But it will be those who cannot learn. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. American writer. So let's hope we do not fall into the first category. Because we all know how to read and write, but we've got to learn this art of listening. So there you are, Krishna was listening to Arjuna. He's a giant intellect, a Jagat Guru. And he could listen for 1 chapter and 10 verses without prejudice. Maybe he has something to say. And only when Arjuna completely surrendered and asked for help, he sought Krishna's help. That is when Krishna gave out the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. The famous verse, he starts off, Krishna, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anarya jushtam aswargyam akirtikaram. Arjuna, how have you fallen to the state, Arjuna? It is un-Aryan, un-Indian. It doesn't give you kirti. Nothing you will achieve here when you fall. You stay alone when you fall. When you're miserable, you're alone. When you're agitated, you're alone. Laugh and the world laughs with you. You cry alone. And all the time we are crying. Complaining about this, that and the other. So you stay alone. And it will not give you anything in the future. What are you going to achieve with this confusion, with agitations, with worries and anxieties? Only thing you'll achieve is blood pressure, blood sugar. And the rest of it, you are familiar, I'm not. You know what I'm talking about. That's all. So why do we just throw away this opportunity called life in misery? It's only a human being that has a choice. You can make or mar yourself. Don't talk about the world. The world will be what it is. There will be problems. There will be iniquities. That is the nature of the world. That is what Christ said. Iniquities there shall be in this world. Woe unto you if you be the cause of it. There will be these problems. But you, as a human, you're not an animal, you're not a plant, you're a human. So you could do something with your life. That means every one of us, provided you put in the effort. So the whole message is given so that we understand here is a master. You don't have to worry about the personality Krishna. We are concerned about the truth that is conveyed through this personality. That's why he starts with I declared. I doesn't mean personality Krishna. I means the self-declared. How so? Because Krishna has no identity of his own. He has merged with the truth. He has become the truth. He represents the truth, the reality. Therefore, when Krishna speaks, in fact, when any master uses the first person singular I, they always meant the truth, the reality. Because they had no other identity. Just as long as a river flows, it has an identity. You can say, oh, this is the Ganges. This is the Amazon. This is the Nile. You can identify these rivers, surely. But the moment the river reaches the ocean, what happens? It becomes one vast sheet of water. it loses its individuality, it gains the totality. Thereafter, there's no identity. It's one vast sheet of water. Similarly, these masters, when they attained enlightenment, it's not the personality they spoke because they did not have it. They lost their individuality and gained the totality. So it's the ocean speaking, as it were. And once the river reaches the ocean, you cannot pinpoint, this is where the Amazon is, this is where the Nile is. There is no such thing. It's one vast sheet of water. So when Krishna says I, he means the truth, the reality declared, that this imperishable yoga in the context, you read a scripture and gives the word yoga, it doesn't mean pranayama or physical asanas. The word yoga is taken from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to join, to unite. So when they say you need to join, unite, the implication is you've separated. What have you separated from? Your own dharma, your essential nature. So every attempt that you make, whatever the attempt is, to unite, to get back, to what? To your original state, is referred to as yoga in Sanskrit, religion in English. Means the same thing. So he says this imperishable attempt to reunite to your original state was declared to Vivaswan. Vivaswan is supposed to be the sun god. From the beginning of time, as far as you can go back. And Vivaswan, the sun god, taught it to Manu. Manu is the son of Vivaswan. And Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Now, these are just names for us. It doesn't make any difference what these names are. But what you must understand is, it is a tradition that was established, that the knowledge is passed on from father to son. And that tradition, because it has been maintained, today we have this opportunity to discuss the great knowledge. So the knowledge is imperishable, and this will never die. It's up to us to help ourselves to these truths that are given out. Next verse.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa.
Thus handed down in succession, the king sages, Raja Rishis, knew this. This yoga, by long lapse of time, has been lost here, O Parantapa, O Arjuna. Another name for Arjuna is Parantapa. Krishna is talking to him. So he says, thus handed down in succession, the Raja Rishis. See, king sages. Seems almost a contradiction. When you're a king, how can you be a sage? If you're a sage, how can you be a king? But in this country, even the people at the helm of affairs, the most powerful people who held the country together, who held the states together, were kings, but they were referred to as Raja Rishis, sages, because they led a life of principles. Now, once you lead a life of principles, you don't have to tear each one's shirts, you don't have to break tables, all that need not happen. But when we lose our principles for whatever reason, then we have to use might. Wisdom is far more powerful than physical contact. But when you don't have, that's what he's saying. I'm not saying that. It's Krishna saying, so don't quote me. You say, it is said in the second verse of chapter 4. What does he say? He says, this yoga, by long lapse of time, has been lost. It is lost. It's not there today. That is why you see what you see. So don't be worried. Then what do? You start with yourself. Don't worry about the others. If each one in this classroom is committed to one's own development, if each one in this classroom can become better humans, the world will be a different place. Not just Chennai, not Tamil Nadu, not India, the world. Too many people here, too many, to impact the world. But the problem is, we say, if we had a better start, then maybe. Now it is too late. I'm busy, very busy. Each one is busy. And we understand that. When you say, I have no time, it means only one thing. This is not my priority. That's all it means. The moment it is your priority, you will change your schedule in such a way to accommodate your own self-development. Like we said, anything and everything else you do has a shelf life. It will not accompany you. All this time you have spent already, what have you achieved? Whatever you have achieved. But that will never help you in the true sense of the term. What will help you is the knowledge of your own self. So that's why we recommend, first thing in the morning, you're doing so many things. First thing in the morning, spend half an hour, 45 minutes. The people wake up in the morning and then what they do? Put on the transistor, radio, sing. Why? Very good bhajans come. I'm not saying it's wrong. The neighbors are complaining. Put the thing down. You're waking us up. Or the children say, why do you have to play loud music? Because you can't sleep. You don't let others sleep. So this is what can happen in one's home. Now you sit down and try and pick up some values every day. Spend half an hour, 45 minutes. See, what will happen is the moment you pick up these ideas, it will influence your day. It will flavor whatever you do through the day because you will remember what you read. Initially, you'll forget everything like you do now. You listen, as you walk out of the door, you leave all the knowledge behind and walk away. That's why we need you to come back at least for 5 days. Some of us make it. Today, I think we had nothing else entertaining, so I think a lot of people have come. But hopefully, we see you again in the next few days. If you manage to do that successfully, then you need to keep that going through the rest of the year. And what will help you do it is a self-help. You got to get that knowledge for yourself. There's enough material, there's enough opportunity, everything is available. Only thing required is your own effort. And if you're willing to set aside a little time, a little effort, in and through all that you do, you have something to fall back on, which will help you live that day. And if you keep doing it every day, in time, you should have a clear understanding of what this knowledge is all about and how it will help you in life. Don't you sweep the house every day? I hope so. Every day, you sweep and swap and keep it clean. Why every day? Once in a while you clean. No. Every day we have to clean. Why? By the time the day is finished, dust has already accumulated. You don't see it. It may not be evident, but you know it's somewhere, everywhere, nowhere in particular. So you make sure the next morning the whole thing is cleaned. Why? To keep it afresh, to keep it going. This is something you can see, your own home. You wash and clean every single day. Even your body, you wash and clean every day. Why? To maintain that purity. What are you doing about the inner space? Is there any cleansing going on? Are you doing anything? Next to nothing. Maximum you do is go to the puja, light the lamp, prepare a lot of good food. Why? Ultimately you eat it. So for your sake, you prepare the right type of food. This prasadam must be made. That prasadam must be made. I must offer it to God and consume it. That says best. and you chant many, many mantras. No doubt, you do that. But what are you doing with feelings like jealousy, hatred, anger, greed, passion? All that is remaining. But the chanting is going on. The puja is going on. All that is going on. We're not saying stop that. You begin with that. It's symbolic to start the cleansing. But how are you cleansing? What are you doing? It is with these values that you can cleanse your inner personality. The way you feel, the way you think. And that has to be done every day. Because somewhere you miss it. Somewhere you pick up a little irritation. Somewhere a little anger. Somewhere a little jealousy. Somewhere it crops up. That's the dirt you collect through the day. Next morning you come back to these values so that you cleanse it. And if you keep that going, you are on your way to your own self-development. So he says, this has been lost for a long time. O Parantapa, by long lapse of time, this has been lost. So we need to revive that. And that is the opportunity that we have.
Sa evayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanah bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam sa evayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanah bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam.
That same ancient yoga that was given out, he said in the first verse, to Vivaswan to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku, and that parampara has been maintained to this day. At your doorstep, you have this knowledge. That same ancient yoga has today been imparted to you by me, once again. When a master uses me or I, he means the truth, the reality, personified as personality Krishna. For you are my devotee and friend. And this indeed is a supreme secret. Now what you have to understand, key words in this verse. First of all, he says, Puratanaha. Puratanaha means an old, respected, traditional knowledge. Now you're not accepting this because it is traditional knowledge, it's ancient knowledge. But it's a time-tested method that has been given out. Just as when you read about the law of gravitation, that every object is attracted to the center of Earth at 32 feet per second, this is a law. It has been established by science. It doesn't matter which scientist has established the law, whoever established, it is something which will never change because it is a law. Similarly, there are laws pertaining to you, the individual. What is happening within you? There are internal laws. I'm not talking about physical laws. That is what medicine gives you, science gives you, about your physical personality. But there is something beyond that, your emotional personality, your intellectual personality, your spiritual personality. There are several laws that have been discovered, established, and all these laws put together is the essence of Vedanta philosophy. So Vedanta is the science of life and living. It tells you who you are. It tells you what the truth is, as any science would tell you. So you're not to accept these principles blindly. You are to, first of all, listen, give it time, apply it in your own life, verify these principles, and make it your own. Famous thinker Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Bacon, he says, read not to contradict. See, some people, I don't know why you're here. and all of you are welcome. But some people could come here only to say, let me find out what this person has to say and let me compare it with what I know. Now, you can do what you want. It's a free experience that you're having. But if you are to benefit from any knowledge, whether this classroom or any classroom, you've got to have an approach, which Sir Francis Bacon tells us. He says, read not to contradict or to confute, nor to believe or take for granted, nor to find talk and discourse. You know, today we went to a Gita lecture, this is what we heard. You could impress people with what you've heard, but to weigh and consider. You've got to weigh what is being said and understand the truths given out. Then, it's not only this classroom, anywhere. So it's not just to, some people want to contradict and argue. See, when you argue, there is more heat, no light. You can go on raising, each one raises their voice over the other. But what do you get at the end of it? It's just heat. But there's no light, there's no understanding. So he says, there's no point whether you read or listen or talk. It must not be to contradict or confute or believe and take for granted because you're for it. This I agree with. It's not a question of you agreeing or disagreeing. What is the truth? Come down to that. Understand it. Or to find talk and discourse, to impress others. You've got a whole lot of things. This Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 talks about that. 18th chapter talks about something else. You could impress people, but you remain exactly the same person with the same problems, with the same difficulties within you. Same anger, same hatred, same jealousy, same confusion within. But you're impressing a lot of people. Of what use is that? You've got to weigh and consider. That is the importance of what is being conveyed. So, he says, whatever is imparted to you by me, meaning the truth is giving, this puratanaha, the ancient wisdom, is time-tested truths you got to weigh and consider. That is the word puratana. Then he uses the word bhaktaha. Bhaktaha means devotee. But in the context, you may rightly say, I am no devotee of anybody. These are symbolic. When these words are given in a scripture, you've got to understand the true meaning. What it means is, who is a devotee? One who surrenders to the master or the guru. So what have you surrendered? You have surrendered your ego, your your personality, your personal likes and dislikes. You have surrendered. For what? You believe that I should set aside whatever your guru says, you will follow. So in fact, what you have surrendered, a devotee is one who surrenders, who's willing to set aside his personal vanity, his personal likes and dislikes, his ego, and receive what the master says. So at the moment, if you remember, Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. So he is able to receive, and he says, Sakha. Sakha means friend. Who is a friend? A friend is one who's prepared to sacrifice for the other. Even if he knows it's troublesome, he won't calculate. He'll say, anything for you. What do you mean, anything for you? You're willing to sacrifice for a friend. So these are the qualities of a disciple or a student. A student needs to set aside personal likes and dislikes, ego and vanity. You are humble. You need to be humble. You may know a lot of things. You may be brilliant. You may be successful. You may be anybody. But when you approach knowledge, all that is set aside. And it doesn't matter who gives the knowledge. It could be your own child talking sense. You ought to humble yourself. What can a child talk? Usually they are smarter than the parents. Unfortunately, parents don't know that. But we don't listen. Why? Child cannot say anything. Only we tell, they have to listen. Oftentimes they know much more. That doesn't mean the other extreme is whatever the child says, I will listen. That is attachment, infatuation. Neither should you be for, nor should you be against. To just keep an open mind is an art. That's what he's saying. Is a quality of one who can receive knowledge, a disciple. And then he says, supreme secret. This is rahasyam, uttamam. Supreme secret means it is simply unknown. Secret is something that is not known. And this is a supreme, uttamam, rahasyam. Something which is not known in the world. What is not known? Your true self. So all that you need to do is discover who you essentially are. Continue.
Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah kathametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah kathametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti.
Arjuna said, later was your birth, earlier the birth of Vivaswan. How then am I to understand that you taught this in the beginning? See, we swallowed it in the first verse. Nobody put up the hand. Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't understand. How could Krishna, who belonged to a particular era, how could he have given it to Vivaswan in the beginning of time and then passed it on and established this parampara? The problem is we have accepted everything. That is why he is Lord Krishna. That's why he is Bhagavan. We are listening to Bhagavan's words. Arjuna is not agreeing. He is asked this question. He says, later was your birth, Krishna. Earlier the birth of Vivaswan. How then am I to understand that you taught this in the beginning? Doesn't make sense. So what it indicates is, which the answer will come later, the real teacher is the self in you. You cannot convey the truth with your words. You cannot convey the truth with your feelings. You cannot convey the truth with your actions. Then how is the truth conveyed? When you drop your individuality, let's put it this way, to the extent that you unfold the truth by dropping your individuality, your ego, your vasanas, your desires. To that extent, the self conveys itself. So since Krishna is an enlightened soul, a God-realized person, what was conveyed was the truth by the truth. So you must understand this is poetry. And there is a way of conveying this message. But you need to understand what is being conveyed. That's all. You don't worry about the words. So here he says, that I, in the first verse, is nothing but the truth speaking, as it were. So that same truth was given out in the past. That truth is given out today, here. And the same truth will be given out in the future. By whom? By what method? The truth conveys itself. So this individuality is just an obstacle. You got to remove it. Not remove it physically. By reducing your own ego, your own desires. Keep on reducing it. What will convey is the self by itself. So Arjuna doesn't know that. So he's asking this question. How am I to understand this that you're conveying was conveyed by you then and now? And then Krishna answers.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. Shri Bhagavanuvacha बहूनि मे व्यतीतानि जन्मानि तव चार्जुन तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तप.
The blessed Lord said, many births of mine and yours have passed by, O Arjuna. I know them all while you know not. O Parantapa. Oh. Parantapa literally means the destroyer of foe. So what is the foe? Who is the foe? Who is the enemy? The enemy is within you in the form of desires and vasanas and ego. That is your enemy, nothing else, nobody else. Since you have befriended this enemy, the whole world becomes an enemy. The moment you identify with the ego, the world clashes with you, conflicts with you. The moment you drop the ego, you have no problem. So the whole message is, why are you holding on to that which is destroying you? That is creating problems. Because of ignorance, sheer ignorance. We don't know what we do. See, recently in the academy, I know you must have all seen the presentation. We have an academy close to Mumbai where we run a 3-year residential course. Swamiji has been teaching all these years. Next year we'll be 30 years old and successfully running the 3-year program. Now, there we have a body of students, a global community of students from all over the world and different religions studying there. Nothing to do with religion. You are a human, first and last. Never mind who you are, whether you're a Chinese or a Japanese or an American or an African or Indian, it doesn't matter. You are a human. As long as you are a human, you need to know what it takes to be a human. And here is the subject that talks to you just that. So in this community of students, we are learning, first of all, what is it to be a human? And then those who have the strength and stamina to discover what is the purpose of life. What are we to achieve? So that is a 3-year course. By the end of 3 years, if you have understood what is being conveyed, we have a curriculum that we follow where we cover the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, some of the Prakriyas, and also a little bit of English literature, because all thinkers around the world worth the name had the same thought. There is no conflict of thought. It's just the packaging that is different. But the essence is the same. So when we complete the 3 years, you are in a position to understand it is just the beginning of your journey. You got to start, get started. Now how many would get started after that is left to them. This is the whole material that is given. In fact, now it is available to any one of you. Even if you can't make it to the academy and study there for 3 years, it's available online. I'm not going into details. So all we are saying is, if anyone finds that this is something you need to investigate further, all the material you need is available outside. So you don't have to worry. It's up to you, your interest, to pursue it. So recently, I was talking to some of the alumni, those who have found it necessary to continue the pursuit after 3 years. Some of them have spent 20, 30 years. You'll find them around here too, sitting there, studying, researching all the time. And he told us that, look, even though you are in this field, you have completely dedicated to this knowledge, it is most difficult to know how ignorant you are. And he's talking to people who have left everything, given their lives for this knowledge. He's telling us, it is so difficult to know how ignorant you are. I'm not saying you are worse or we are worse. We're not talking about that. Each one should find out for himself or herself, where do I stand? Where am I? Because unless you do that, you would not be interested in going anywhere. Why would you follow this? Why would you come here? Some of you may have come here because of no choice. The plan was Sunday, isn't it, today? After lecture, Sharavana Bhavan, let's go out. For that reason you may be sitting, waiting, when will this get over? Now, I don't know how many have come here for study. But if you have come here for study, you need to understand where you are. See, imagine there is a graph of human development. Just imagine that. 0 to 100. Okay? I don't believe anybody here would say, look, I'm perfect. I don't believe that. Otherwise, you won't be here. Why would you be here? You've come here to learn something. The belief is, I need to know. So, nobody is at 100%. Let's say at 100% a person is perfect. Human perfection, if there be such a thing. At 0, a person is not at all developed. You don't meet such people. Everybody has something, some achievement, whoever you are. Now, all of us in this classroom and even outside, all humans are somewhere between 0 and 100. First thing you need to know is, where are you? Are you at 30, 40, 50? Where do you stand? How do you gauge yourself? What are your actions? What sort of actions are you performing? You're performing actions. Are they selfish, self-centered, or are you performing unselfish actions or selfless actions? You judge yourself. From morning till now, what have you been doing? Only taking care of yourself. As long as I am taken care of, I don't care about the world. That could be your attitude. Or it could be service all the time. Or it could be doing what you ought to do without expecting anything in return. Selfless, dedicated actions. So this is one part of your personality. What sort of feelings do you have? Selfish, self-centered? Are you attached, infatuated? What is it? You have feelings of hatred, jealousy, greed, passion. What is it? Something is going on. Or goodness, kindness. There are positive feelings. Where do you put yourself? What sort of thinking do you have? Are you all the time manipulating, thinking of destroying others? Or are you using that same ability to think, to evolve, to be a better human? What sort of clarity do you have as far as thinking goes? So, when you assess yourself, you can put yourself somewhere approximately on that graph, between 0 and 100. So, let's say you are at 50%. Okay, granted. Now, that's not important. First of all, we don't know where to place ourselves. We're not even clear. Now that I've told you, you'll be scratching your head. Where am I? What am I? That itself will take time. Let's assume you successfully place yourself on that graph and you're satisfied. All right, I think this is where I am. Granted. What is important now with this opportunity called life is, which way are you moving? Are you moving towards 60, 70, 80? Are you becoming a better human? Or in this life that you have, are you coming down? That's what Swamiji was telling us. He says, don't take it for granted. Just because you've got this outfit and you're sitting in an ashram does not ensure anything unless and until every action, every feeling, every thought is dedicated to something higher and not yourself. You're not on the path. You could be in a spiritual place. You could be in spiritual attire. You could be reading spiritual books. But you could be completely mundane. It was a caution. It was a wake-up call for some of us. Very, very inspiring. Now, why I'm sharing it is fresh. Very recently, he told. He called only the alumni, not the course students. And this is what he conveyed. Because you will be talking to people. When you talk to people, talk to yourself first and last. If they pick it up, well and good. But the whole discussion is for yourself. So, he says here, these principles have always been given throughout these generations. Many births of mine and yours have passed by, O Arjuna. I know them all. Meaning, The self is aware of everything. The truth knows everything. But people, individuals, are conditioned. The knowledge is conditioned. It's not pure knowledge. It's not pure awareness. It's not pure consciousness. That is the truth. So what do we have? We have conditioned consciousness, conditioned knowledge, conditioned awareness. Why do we say that? Because if I were to ask you, are you aware? What would you say? If I say, are you aware? You would say, of what? You need an object to be aware of. Are you aware of the time? Most of us are. Because you've got the next program coming, whatever you're doing. You have to be aware of something all the time. But when we talk of the pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure knowledge, it is that which enables you to be conscious of whatever you're conscious. Standing from a limited standpoint. Next verse.
Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanamishvaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanamishvaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya.
The consciousness speaks, as it were, in this verse. It's a subtle verse. It's meant for contemplation. Though unborn, of imperishable nature, and Lord of beings, presiding over mind,